until they get here, we can talk about the stuff that's on our agenda. We'll just have to wait until one of them gets here so that way we can make a motion. So we will officially call this meeting to order at 5:07. First matter of business is approval of minutes. Well, we can't approve the minutes until we have a quorum. But I do have one piece for the minutes as an edit. Adam, you need to make sure to put yourself on the minutes when you're here. You forgot to put your name on the people who attended last meeting. So you need to take credit because you were here. But that's my only thing that I saw right out the bat. So, moving right along, do we have any additions to the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go to our first item. Ozzie with the North Country Trail came to give us a little bit of an update on how that's going.
Yeah, and I also have John. John's help. Yeah, he's been working on the trail as well. So
wonderful. And we do have the mics all set up for the recording today. So if you guys want to stand nice and close, or as close as you're comfortable. That's okay.
Yeah, we have two updates for you. We've been meeting monthly, the Northwoods chapter, and one of those being pretty important to the town is becoming an official North Country Trail town, which I will talk to you more about.
yeah.
And I don't want to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you real quick here because I've got one of our board members on the. Hi, I've got you on speakerphone. Are you okay to do call-in?
Yeah. Do you need me to FaceTime right now, or like what is? Is this still valid if I do this? I'm just sick of talking to testify to that.
It's all good. I think we're okay. We're just getting started on an update from the North Country Trail information. We'll have to backtrack a little bit later to get the minutes approved because you make our quorum. So.
I'm not sure if we
Okay.
can
Yes.
fix it to those.
Also, if people want, I'm willing to meet outside. If you'd rather do that, if you want to meet outside, or this will work.
No, I don't.
Whatever the board needs.
I don't know, I just haven't done it in the past.
Yeah, I know we've done it in the past before.
I don't know.
But if the same thing came up.
Did it? Okay. Yeah, because otherwise we're just not going to have quorum tonight. So we won't be able to do any business.
I haven't heard from her. Abby can't come. She's out of town.
Jen I saw her.
She's at a
earlier
school board meeting.
and was hoping to join.
Yeah, she's just running late. You know what, Eck, it's okay. We'll talk later, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay. Proceed, sorry.
That's important too. Yeah, so Steve, Gravis and I were here a few months ago, some of you might remember, and we kind of introduced the North Country Trail idea. Some people might have heard about it before that as well. But we've been working since then on the trail. It's been a really warm winter, as you know, so we've been able to do a ton of scouting out there. And kind of on the trail town side of things, I was able to read through the whatever 100-page document that the North Country Trail Association has on trail towns, and kind of gained a better understanding of the process. I thought it was the very simple checklist that I had given out to everybody here at that meeting. But it's a little bit more, I guess, procedural, I guess, going through all those steps. So one of the big pieces is to have the city pass a resolution declaring itself a trail town and supporting the endeavor to become a trail town officially with the North Country Trail Association. And so I gave you the sample resolution and then like a Ely specific one that I put together, basically just filling in the blanks and updating the distance of the trail because it changes every year pretty much. So that would be one of the steps that we need to have happen before the town can officially apply to become a trail trail town and be listed as such. So I guess that's one of the big things that we're looking for your help with, is to see if the city would be interested in adopting that resolution, or how that process would go about. Yeah.
So do you guys know what that means, like being a trail town? Have you heard about that yet? Have you talked to anybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
You kind of know, yeah.
Yeah, Ozzie and Steve Progress came in and gave us a rundown of kind of what's been going on, what it means to be a trail town, what it takes to be a trail town. Adam, you had a question or comment? I saw yours.
Yeah, so you're looking for a resolution of support to be adopted. At what point would that take place? Is it right now and right away, or are we waiting for an official map of the trail? Do we have?
So I can walk you through kind of
I'd
the
love to hear
steps.
more,
Yeah.
and then consider that.
So yeah, the steps that you need to become an official trail town can happen kind of separately from the trail itself being created. We have the proposed route, and some of the stuff out the woods will eventually end up changing and things, but going down Sheridan Street is generally the known section that we have right now. So it's going to be in Ely. It is currently in Ely, so we have eligibility to become a trail town because of that. But then from there, the steps are to create a trail town committee of interested people. So that can be city folks, volunteers from our trail chapter, people with the Parks and Rec Board, local teachers, things like that. Anyone who's interested in the trail at the local level. And I've got a list of those kind of prospective folks that we've been thinking about that I'd like to run by you all also. So that's one of the steps, is creating that trail town committee. Doing some sort of annual event or celebration is another step. So as it stands, we are planning to just have that annual celebration be the anniversary of the chapter forming, so in September. We figure that's a nice kind of slower time of year in town, so hopefully that'll be a way to draw more people to Ely as kind of a tourism boost, and also it's a great time to be out there hiking because all the roads are dead. And, yeah, it's a little cooler, and not as stormy, and all those good things. And then community support. So that piece is this proclamation or designation that the city needs to pass or approve, I guess. And then that trail committee needs to work over the course of like 2 years to create a master plan for the town and the trail in the town. So that can be as short as a couple pages or more encompassing. I know Tower has a pretty good example of a big trail plan that they have that kind of includes all sorts of user trails. And something like that would be pretty incredible to have for this area too. So if this is the forum for making that happen, that would be a great outcome. And then, land use incorporation. So just kind of aligning the trail with other activities happening in the area. So whether that's like the new trail center going in, some of the trails that are being talked about for that area, and seeing if we can overlap these trails so everybody gets to see more of the beautiful landscape we have up here. And then promoting the trail. So that's just kind of a general piece back and forth is that the trail will promote the town will promote the trail, and there'll be a lot of crossover there. So those are kind of the steps, and they don't necessarily have to happen in like a particular order, but they all kind of have to happen. Once those are kind of in place, obviously some of them like the trail master plan and things kind of take a longer time, so you can become a trail town before that's done. But once those are done, you can apply to be a trail town to the NCTA, and then theoretically they'll approve it, and then you get signage and things to put up at other end of town and stuff like that. But I guess to answer your question briefly, this proclamation could be approved at the next council meeting, and then we could have our trail committee start up, and then I'll cross off both those boxes.
And for a little bit of context, Ozzie did out to myself to see about if I would be interested in joining that committee, as I'm assuming since I'm on the Park and Rec board with the city. I know that some of the other people that you have on there were like, Cindy, hi Jen, welcome, welcome, no, you're all good. You have like Jess Edberg on there, you have Eva Sebesta, somebody with the Tourism Bureau, Jenny Nelson with Spirit of the Wilderness Outfitters. You did a really, I have to compliment you and say you did a really good job of getting people who are very involved with kind of all the different aspects of it, which is very exciting. Now that Jen is here,
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. You're good. You had other important meetings to be at too. It's difficult when you have them both at the same time. Just to kind of fill you in, Ozzie and John, right?
Yeah.
We're giving a presentation and a little bit of an update about the North Country Trail becoming a trail town and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, go ahead.
So, to qualify as a trail town, we have to meet this list that you've provided. So, I don't think you're looking for a proclamation that Ely is a trail town, and then we get denied here. It seems like that's sort of the final days, that is the period at the end of the sentence here. So, once we've received that designation, we can make that proclamation. But in order to receive that designation, we just have to show support by the city. So what we're seeking is a letter of support.
Yeah, I guess so. On the top of the like trail town designation example one, it just says you have to kind of complete a resolution of support.
Resolution of support.
Yeah. So whether that looks like this or there's a different template that the city will want to go with.
Right.
I think
So
it's,
we
yeah.
can't make
one
an
of the
official
same, yeah.
proclamation of declaration that we are when in fact we aren't, only a proclamation of support.
Yeah, it's kind of, to me, that was a little confusing also to be saying that we are, and then, wait, that submits the application,
The application gets
Yeah.
denied.
Yeah, so I think it could be a different format for sure.
Okay, so then we'll put that forward as a motion through Parks and Rec that the city provide a letter of support. A resolution of support
Yeah, that was
for the pursuit of the trail town designation.
awesome.
I would make that motion.
I second.
Second, first Todd, second Julie. Any further discussion? Any questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that will go forward to the council for their approval. So we can get that letter of support together.
Yeah, and then, if you don't mind me taking some more of your time.
Yeah.
So I guess I just wanted to run through the list of folks that we had to invite to our Trail Town Committee. So Julie were one, Morgan, Harold, Eva with the Chamber, Cindy with the Tourism Bureau, Jenny Nelson, Jess Edward, and Steve Lampman. We figured that was kind of a good cross-section of the community and people involved in kind of different areas. But if any of you are interested in being a part of that, or know other people that you think would be interested, we'd love to hear who that is. And either tonight or you can email me to do something later.
In regards to the designated route through the city, I think that would also have to go through council and with some feedback from the chief of police as well. Just before we go sending a whole bunch of hikers through an area, they may feel that it's better than sending them up Chapman or perhaps another route. So, if you wanted to perhaps submit 2 or 3 options in order of what you prefer, I think would be best, then of course we can consider those options before approving them.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Thank you. Yeah, and if we want to transition, John's got some maps and
Yeah, we
to
have-
talk about the maps.
Yeah, we have, the first map, I believe, it outlines the trail as it goes from Ely to Whiteside Park. And you can kind of imagine how it does, most of it connects to the trail via, it runs fairly close to 21, Mitchell Lake which is, it shows the area west of town where the trail center will be going. And that, right now, we tentatively plan for the trail to go down Sheridan or an alternative route to that trail center. And then from that trail center, going out into into more of a wilderness route. There has been, I've gotten word that there is like some talks about developing that cedar bog as well for some trails. So I just thought it would be important just to like keep this in your minds that we are also going to be working on a trail in that area. We have some resources, I think both that we could use jointly. And a vision that I have is to keep this first mile of trail as it goes to the tailings basin as one that's more accessible to the town. We have like a wilderness trail here that we're building. It's 4,800 miles. But realistically, a lot of us are only going to be walking out on that trail a short distance and then coming on back to where we started. So I do think that this area right here is a place that we can capture the essence of hiking and a lot of what we in Ely really enjoy about living here. There's other potential as well. It's kind of outside of the town's reach, but just on the south side of that map, there's potential to draw spur trails off of this section to 21 to like the southwest side of town as well. That just this here, I just wanted to get in front of you guys just to start to create a vision for a small area of trails that we have like directly adjacent to our town. Now I've talked to Harold a little bit about it and stuff, and I think that cedar bog is a bit of a more just like talk right now, but if anything does develop, we'd like to be involved with it and help to share some resources to get it into something maybe a little bit more than what each of us may need in that area. But, so, any questions on that?
Yeah, I have just a couple of questions, and it might be silly ones, but the red dots on the
Oh, sure.
bigger, broader map, what are
Yeah.
those indicators
Now,
of?
those are like points of interest as we're scouting. They're not really, I couldn't tell you what half of them are. But we've just been out scouting and looking at this land a lot, and those are maybe like a high point on some ledge rock or the intersection of a old hunting trail or something like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then my only other question, and again, maybe a silly one, on the map of the close-up, kind of closer to town, there is a section that appears to be going through the private property.
Yeah.
That's located
So
there. Is
that line right now, we just have it traced on the Taconite Trail,
okay?
and which does go through some private land.
Okay.
We plan to be, our regional director just had a meeting with the DNR. They recommended that we stay off of that Taconite Trail. So we will be probably parallel to it, probably north of it, but there is probably going to be a scenario where our trail does go through that private land. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same as you see illustrated there.
Okay. And I just bring that up just to keep it for discussion with the private property owner and that piece of it.
Sure. Yeah, and if there's not really a good scale, but from that trail center to that private property, that distance of trail, I would estimate is about 3/4 of a mile to that private property. So there is a lot of land within that distance that other trails can be developed there as well.
Okay.
Which area are we discussing?
What's that?
So on this map here, this private,
Oh, there it is.
two down from the Bear Center.
Yep. Yeah.
I think we kind of talked a little bit last time I was here. There are potentials, I think, for this kind of section here in town to be like a really neat educational piece, as far as a unique bog environment, all the cool animals and plants associated with those things. So I think it could be really beneficial to town to have really developed signage around either start their journey or be finishing their journey into town's knowledge, right? So like it's a fun tie-in with PCR, with the school, or with the Forest Service or any other of the natural resources organizations we have up in this area. So yeah, a lot of possibilities with the development.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have any other questions at this time? Yeah, go ahead.
At what pace is all this developing?
Yeah, good question.
So it's actually gone much faster than we had anticipated, which is really neat, because it was so warm, we were able to do all of that red line of scouting this winter. I would have expected that to take like several springs worth of getting out before the melt happens fully. But we did 20 miles of wandering around the woods easily, which was cool. So that piece, like John was saying, we had that kind of proposed to the DNR this past week. So they're kind of evaluating it. They had a couple suggestions for things on state land. We need to have a similar meeting with the Forest Service because the big overview red line is, I think it's maybe like 50-50 state land and Forest Service land. I know the Forest Service is kind of interested in this trail as well. I know they are doing the NEPA study for the Fernberg section of it. So they're interested in seeing it happen, I believe. So hopefully that's also a smooth process. But that could be anywhere from like 1 to maybe like 3 or 4 years for all those approvals to happen for construction to begin. Some of it is like existing trail out there, some like old hunting trails and stuff like that. So some of it you can walk on just fine already. But for this trail to be complete, I'd say it'd probably be 5 or so years for it to be easily walkable from Ely to the tower.
And with the preliminary discussions we've had with the DNR, that puts us at flagging a more specific route, probably by the end of the fall. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So, we will be coming up with more specifics as the summer rolls on, and having our part of it mapped out probably before winter.
And as far as where the trail crosses city property, have you received guidance from the city and where or where you could not?
Yeah, not yet specifically on that. I think from the conversation with the DNR, they were saying that they have some amount of corridor for that MTV trail through there already. So they were thinking they would just be able to go in that same corridor. I don't know what their agreement with the city is though. So that's certainly something we should look into and discuss further as well.
And having Harold on the committee will help with that too, because he'll be able to kind of direct about what's needed. And whether it be permitting or access to the land, that kind of a thing.
I've been so surprised at the number of people of all ages who are really interested in this.
Yeah.
And even show up at the meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had monthly meetings since this past September when we became an official chapter. Generally, it's like between 10 and 20 people that are showing up to these monthly meetings. And from those, we're doing monthly hikes and things like that. So it's really engaging people that live here and people that are seasonally up here. So it's been a cool thing to see develop.
And we have like a chapter, we're a new chapter of the North Country Trail as of September or thereabouts, and we do have like a surprisingly large membership compared to other areas nearby. So there's a lot of support and a lot of people backing this directly.
This is strictly hiking, no biking allowed on the trail.
Correct, yeah.
Any further questions from the committee at all? No? All right, well, thank you so much. We will definitely get this information over to the council about the letter of support and our recommendation to do so. And definitely keep in touch with us as this goes on. Because I know myself, I'm very excited for it, and I think everybody on the committee is very excited, and it's wonderful to hear that there's so much membership and people coming to your meetings as well.
Thank you guys, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're gonna change it just a little bit. We're gonna go back to the approval of the minutes here. Since we have a quorum real quick, and then we'll jump right into the proposal from Dutchman Tree Service. So,
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the minutes.
okay, motion made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Julie. Besides my note from earlier of Adam adding himself onto the minutes, if there are any other additions or comments? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alrighty, wonderful. Okay, so we can, are you Austin?
I am, yeah.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm the emailer that you emailed with. Do you want to give a little presentation first, or do you want to start right with the video? What would you like to do?
Let's watch the video.
Okay, wonderful. I will hit play on this here. So if everybody wants to direct their attention to our big PowerPoint behind us here.
On the corner of 8th Avenue and Harvey. And this is our tree that we have selected. It's a very large silver maple. And our idea for the 4th of July Kids Climb event is to set up a couple of climbing ropes and get some of the older kids to try out climbing. So these are our devices, mechanical, and this is a closed system, so it's very, very safe. You cannot move it once it's weighted. And the idea is that the children that get saddled up and want to try this event would climb from the base of the tree to where the rope has been terminated at that first union right there, and then come back down. We would have a climber in the tree, like Mike up there, during this process to help the kids descend if required. Most of the kids are going to be able to do it themselves, but if they are having issues or are scared, or just, need help, that's what Mikey's for. So this is our system. So once it's weighted fully, and when your feet are up off the ground, you just take your fingers and slowly release your weight, and down you go. As soon as you let go, it stops. So it's a very safe system. And we would have kids climbing on this, and to ascend, they can pull on the rope, and the rope will self-tend, or they can pull the tail end of the rope to pull themselves up, or what we would probably put on every kid is one of these foot ascenders here, and they clip into the rope like this. They're not used for life support, but they wrap on the rope so that you can use your lower body to advance your system. So, the idea to coordinate this event is to have this area surrounding the tree fenced off. We provide the sill fencing with some signs that say keep back, things like that, just to keep people from getting too excited and running up to the base of the tree. But we would definitely have a closed fence, and then the opening would be somewhere where we're standing, plenty far away from the tree, and there would be a table partially blocking the opening with registration form or like a liability form for parents to sign. You can call it a consent form, I guess, for the parents to sign. And then once it's signed, then we can get the kids fitted in a climbing saddle. So they need saddles for children 60 and 66 pounds and up. So we would have all the requirements for the size of the travel bag. sunglasses. We have a few different types of gloves for kids to wear if they're worried about tearing up their hands, which they shouldn't tear up their hands. But if they are worried about it, they can put on some gloves, and then every kid will have a certified helmet on with a buckled chin strap before they are allowed to climb the rope. As the child gets done climbing the rope and they come back down, somebody such as myself or Mike would go over there, unhook them, bring them back to the table. We give them a high five and bring the next kid in once that kid has left the space, and we would hook them up and get them set up. And in order to keep the flow going, to make sure that we're allowing this for as many kids as possible, is we'd set like a 2-minute time limit. And if they reach the top of 2 minutes, then we ask them to come down and we'll let another kid out. So I'll give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about here. And bear with me, I might put you guys where you can better see how the climbing.
No, I know, I'm asking how to use the setting on.
I can't.
Okay.
It's just how it works.
So what are you explaining here?
I'm just explaining how we would hook them up to the system and then get them weighted in it so that they aren't just standing there and they're actually in the rope, and then giving them directions on how to climb and maybe helping them with their first few feet. And then I'm just demonstrating how you advance the system, and then I'm going to demonstrate, like if I was a child who couldn't come down on the system, how Michael would swim over me and help me do that.
Want to make sure it wasn't going to automatically play something else here, so.
You guys like me to?
Yeah, if you'd like to come step up, if we have any further information, or if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, so Young Life and I were kind of brainstorming a new activity for the kids, the carnival event that we have at the 4th of July Whiteside Park. And something that our service is, kind of always, I've seen this done quite a bit down attending other conferences and seminars across the country throughout my career where, children have the ability to ascend up a rope and come back down. And it sounds so simple, but yeah, it's so inspiring for a lot of young kids, you know, who have a passion for outdoors and maybe see themselves, you know, finding a career, pursuing resource management or anything like that. So this kind of came up a couple weeks ago when I was meeting with Young Life, working through all the auction stuff. And they're like, oh, that seems like a pretty cool idea. How would you do this? And I've always had my eyes on the trees at Whiteside because this is my community as well. I keep close tabs on the trees, and you know, it just seemed to align the idea, like, well, we can use that tree because it's healthy. So what Mike and I were doing there in the beginning was just performing a hazard tree assessment and making sure everything was good to go, and just seeing if logistically this could work, how we would set things up and keep things coordinated and safe. And so I guess what I'm here to ask you guys about is if this idea could be considered to be added to an event for the older children to participate in during the 4th of July Carnival.
It looks so fun.
It is. It's a blast.
And when you say older children, how old would be like the minimum age that would be able to do something like this?
It's more about size, physical abilities. We're going to heavily lean on the parents' discretion. If they feel like their child isn't, you know, suitable to do this, it's going to be up to the parents to make the decision, not the children. So if there's a child that comes up that obviously couldn't do it, sorry, gotta get a little bigger. If there's a child that comes up with a parent that does fit the size requirement and is excited to try it, we'll certainly give them a try.
So
It's
what would
just-
the size requirement be?
Probably a child around this size would be the absolute smallest. Yeah, something like that, 4 or 5 feet. I'm gonna be doing some research on the saddle specifications as well, the types of saddles that I can purchase for this. They make kid-specific climbing saddles for tree work. So I've been to seminars and stuff where they do this with children in rock climbing saddles, but they aren't nearly as, lack of better words, like heavy duty as an arborist climbing saddle. So I'd be gearing this more towards an arborist setting where, you know, we would be following essentially our same safety protocols just with smaller people. So yeah, I'll have a more definitive answer once I do some more research on the saddles that are going to be available to us.
Right size was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
Elements too, and
Yep.
I guess if you're gonna invest in that, your insurance company knows you're gonna do it.
Yes, I will be, again, triple checking with my insurance company to make sure that we'll be good. Young Life did mention to me that if I was having any like real financial struggles trying to purchase like an event insurance or something that would be required of me, that they might be able to contribute or to help throughout that process. Because we do, I mean, it's a few months away, but I see it as, well, we better hustle up here because this would be a huge eye-opening event, and definitely something that would we'd have a captive audience there watching and wanting to participate, so we want to make sure all of our ducks are in a row, essentially. So the size of helmet, our arborist helmets, again, they make kids arborist helmets that have an adjustment on the backbone, chin strap, and again, it would be either up to me or one of my team members to thoroughly inspect that child before they got hooked up to a rope to start climbing, to make sure everything was fitted properly. So again, if there's a child whose body characteristics don't conform with the equipment characteristics that are required, it would be a no-go, simply because there's liability. Just anything aloft, climbing up a ladder, anything, you have to take pretty specific, those things very seriously.
Absolutely.
When you guys do the Young Life in the park, is there anyone with first aid experience?
I'm a certified EMT. Michael is a first responder. The park, we want to have a discussion with like the Ely ambulance to make sure that they're aware of the event and what types of injuries could occur during the event, just so that they have that heads up. But yeah, as far as our staff, I would say that overall we're all to a first aid level of, training.
So when you say all, how many people would be supervising?
We have 3 people currently on payroll. that all have that level of training that would be participating. I'd like to talk to like Alyssa Nelson. She was one of my ropes coordinators back at BCC when she first started. I was her teacher's assistant, so I'm very good relationship. She's an ALS support trained paramedic, so if I could maybe have Alyssa, if she's not obligated to being on the ambulance, maybe on standby close by, just to watch the kids, maybe help fit saddles and stuff. But we're hoping to kind of bring in somebody to volunteer to assist us, because there's only 3 of us. So the more people on staff, more eyeballs, the more people checking, the more people, the more redundancy we have built into our system.
I wonder if Melissa might have some college students who are staying over the summer that they'd even be able to help like with the registration piece of at the table doing paperwork, that side of it. Help with that if you're needing additional people for that as well.
Correct. I was one of those students, and so yeah, I'd
You're
totally
well
be
aware.
interested in this. It's just a matter of, I wanted to bring this to the city to get your open and honest feedback before I take it any further and really get the word out there. I don't want to disappoint anybody, so it's, it's, I'm just here to give you guys as much info as you have, so any more comments, questions, concerns?
Safety is my number 1 concern.
100%.
And if you could, having done this plenty of times, I'm assuming, kind of generate a short list of some of the most common injuries and make protecting and safety equipment to prevent those injuries a requirement for people partaking. My other concern is, and I'm sure you know a lot about trees, but how safe is this for the tree? Are we going to be cutting that tree down next year, the year after?
Absolutely not.
Well, like I said, I trust, you know about trees, but I'd kind of like to have the tree board review this. We have, Rita. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. She was one of my instructors.
Yep, and we recently received an application from Bonnie Starkman, who will likely be joining that board as well. I think it should go through the tree board as just for a review and approval.
Awesome.
And perhaps even when considering which tree to use, if maybe just go out to the park with 1 or 2 of them and should they approve it, and make that decision with them.
Would it be appropriate, so we're volunteering for the Arbor Day event this
yeah.
Saturday?
Yeah,
So we're going to
perfect.
meet at Whiteside.
Please bring it up to.
I could bring it up to Rita.
Yes, please.
Perfect.
Just to make sure. I know 1 or 2 people going up a tree, but once you get 25 or 30, those tree spikes, you start to.
No tree spikes. So this is all climbing on a rope.
Oh, I
So-
thought you had spikes on.
No, that was a foot ascender. So all it does is grab onto the rope. There's in no way, shape, or form will we be penetrating or abrasing the bark.
Mhm.
So I should have shown you guys when I was in the video, that the rope that would be climbed on all day, every day, is run through a series of rings, aluminum rings. So it's called a cambium saver, and we install it on all the trees that we're pruning because we don't want to run our rope over a branch and then climb on it and rub through potentially the cambium of the tree and cutting off nutrients to the rest of the limb. So all this would be done in accordance to our ANSI standards, which are to preserve the tree in any way possible. So that, I appreciate the concern.
Yeah, I'd still like some feedback from you. If you
Totally.
could talk to her and then she can follow up with an email.
Totally.
I just think about volume and demand. Kids are gonna be totally jazzed about this. Is there any capability to just give it a dry run? I mean, you're hitting it big time here with the 4th of July event, to just try it with VCR, or just like the logistics of this, I think are gonna be big, like crowd control,
I
like,
would love to try it. I'm open to suggestions.
yeah.
Is there any like smaller events where we can do a run through?
Yeah, but you need to purchase that equipment before we could even do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
check with insurance.
Yeah, check with insurance.
And I'm
Yep.
sure it is not inexpensive, with climbing equipment, it's not as much, but.
Each children's saddle, I've seen them go from $125 to about $250. Helmets are about $100. Gloves and glasses all together would be about $50. I think the investment would be to to buy 3 saddles, and then like a designated rope for this event. It'd probably be around $1,500 if I were to go crazy, and that's a cost that we would incur to, allow this event to happen, and then to also hopefully carry it over. And those saddles generally expire in 5 to 7 years. So if we can continue to reuse them as long as they don't get damaged or, and they're stored properly, they're good for 5 years. So it's an investment into the future. That's how I see it. So, and I could probably have everything here in a couple of weeks. So if there's something that can be done in May, that would be an awesome opportunity for us to at least give this a go and see what the interest is like and see how the fitment, how long that would take to fit a child adequately for that saddle. I'm guessing anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes to actually get a kid in a saddle and get it fitted. And it takes me with my saddle about 15 seconds. I can pop that thing on. But with a child, it's just, they're children and we want to make sure that they're safe. So we'll take as much time as we
Take
need.
some explaining
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The 3 to 5 minutes sounds about right. I was a rock climbing instructor down in Duluth, and we had to do the harness
Mhm.
on them, and yeah, 3 to 5 sounds about right.
Yeah. So would 3 saddles sound kind of adequate, or if
Well,
we
back
said
to
that
Jen's point, if you get 100 kids, I mean, would we have 300 to 500 minutes?
we'd be there all day. So as many kids as we can.
Could they reserve time to, are there
Possibly,
ways to, kind of make the logistics of this more efficient?
I think everybody's gonna wanna do it. Yeah.
So I'm open to ideas as far as like time management goes, I think as the kid, maybe we get through the first hour or two and the kids might honestly realize that it's very physically challenging and most of the children aren't gonna make it to the top. They're gonna make it about halfway and either get tired or just have struggles or difficulties with, because realistically, how many children have been able to pull up their own body weight repetitively 15 times in a row without stopping? It's rather physically challenging. So I think as children kind of see how difficult it is to advance up a rope without the climbing spikes, then there might be, that might kind of help, like, oh, do I really want to try this, or do I just want to watch and see how fun it is to watch?
Okay, can I put forward a recommendation for a motion to schedule Monday, May 20th, our next Park and Rec meeting at Whiteside Park with this gentleman available?
Well, I was kind of just because of timing wise, I was gonna potentially just make a motion that we would support a 4th of July kids climb with the understanding that the tree board would also be weighing in on this decision as well.
I mean, we can find you some guinea pigs, kids.
I know, I was trying to get my head, like, what's happening? Because I didn't even think about how many people come to town for the 4th of July.
Yeah. And it's great that you're working with Young Life, because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, wait, that's where they do the races. But if they go over there, that's fantastic.
And the big thing is I'd be a little worried to put this off for another month because I know you said you still got stuff to buy, and I think you would like to have the idea that there is some support before you make those purchases, I'm guessing.
It's kind of why I'm here. It's like, is this a hard bill pass maybe next year, or is it something where it's like, yeah, if we saw some children do this, and if you guys wanted to come out in May and we do a trial run with some guinea pig kids, that would be, I would be willing to purchase the.
You're okay if this does get put off for one more month?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you guys if that would make you more comfortable, absolutely.
This is just, I work with insurance, so I just want to say you might want to just get in touch with your insurance just to see how much is it going to cost. Do you need that event day insurance with it? Just because I know that with insurance it takes a long time. Their standard time process is usually as short as 30 days.
Okay.
So you might want to just ask those initial questions if we are going to table this. So that way then you can make sure to get a head start, because I would hate to say, oh yeah, let's wait, let's do it. We'll bring, Adam and Jen, if you guys want to bring your kids with to be the the guinea pigs, I forget how tall they are, but
Her son's about 3 times taller than my daughter.
But again, I just want to make sure that we're not holding anything up on that sense. So.
How I understand it, as of right now, our general liability coverage covers any personal bodily injury up to like $1 million for job sites. It's the fine line of what's an event and what's considered a job.
Mhm.
So if I'm volunteering, does that make it a job? Is it a job or is it an event? So I believe like if we were to do a small trial run, my liability insurance would cover anything if it was on such a small scale, right? Just, more intimate, me and a group of kids doing this, it's for fun type deal. But if it were on the full on, fourth, just a big event, I think that's where my broker is doing her research, trying to make sure that she's not going to tell me anything that isn't true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have just another quick question, just based off your recommendation. Would it make more sense potentially to set up like a kind of like a special meeting of Park and Rec on a different day that isn't our regular meeting, and then try and have that in collaboration with like the tree board, and then we can kind of try and all meet at the same time roughly?
My schedule's booked. It's tough to get to everything I've got.
Right.
I don't know about you guys, but we did not, when Harold made the recommendation that during the summer months, we take the opportunity to meet at Whiteside, meet at Seymour. And this is a great opportunity to do that in conjunction with this gentleman's request.
All right, then first, I guess my first motion then would be that we table this item to the May meeting.
Do I have a second to that motion? Second, Jen? Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We will table it until our next meeting, so that'll be May 20th.
Then I'll put a second motion on the table that we schedule the May 20th meeting to be held at Whiteside Park.
Okay. First Todd, second Julie. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. So May 20th will be at Whiteside Park. Hopefully, knock on wood, good weather. Good tree climbing weather. And we'll see, I'm sure that we'll be able to rustle up some guinea pigs and get some people out there to come test it out and see it in action.
Awesome. I was going to make a comment.
Oh, yes, yeah.
If there's any lightning or thunderstorm activity, there'd be no thermal timing. So we can definitely show up in our rain suits, but we'll just play the weather by ear, maybe be a little sketchy. Thank you for your time.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
But one way for crowd control could be to say, like, 5th grade and up, if you make the site, the size requirement, that would reduce the total number, so you don't have to be measuring kids that are probably going to be too small.
It's a fantastic idea.
And then you
I really
could
like-
success rates too, you could do age as well as
Yeah.
height, and then you could
And if
have
they're,
successful kids, and then next year, if you want to lower it or whatever.
and if they start sobbing, we just say, well, wait until you're in 5th grade.
And I think most people in Ely will listen to Grace and we're like, this is our first year, we're just doing this age group of kids. And I think most people will understand and they'll just get the enjoyment out of watching. But it's like, man, we don't want to bite off more than what we can chew. We don't want to disappoint anybody. If we can narrow that down by a parade or that'd be awesome. It's just, what is the age of kids that's really going to be interested and brave enough to try this? Because it takes an act of courage. So, again, if y'all think of anything, Dutchman Tree Service @gmail.com. Email me and I'll be happy to take notes on it and have that prepared for you. Was that the 20th of May?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be a fun thing to do.
Oh, I really hope so.
Yeah, I don't watch any
yeah.
reason.
Can you go Ely Little League?
I was just gonna ask if that would be okay.
Ryan's been very patient.
Yes, Ryan, since you've been so patient, if you would like, we're gonna bump the Ely Little League request up. Just so that way we're not taking up more of your time.
That sounds wonderful. Not complaining at all.
So whenever you're ready, or if you would like, if you want to come on up, there is in our packet, when you go past the email and the pictures of the basketball court, is the letter of request from Ely Little League, and I'll let Ryan take over and explain.
Yes, and I'll be completely honest with you. It's a little bit more than just the baseball. There's a little bit of a looking at. We're totally just asking for the baseball dirt, but I wanted to come to you guys tonight and talk a little bit. Last year, we put a little over between $35,000 and $40,000 into the baseball field. We purchased a new scoreboard. We updated, because someone had made almost a $20,000 donation for an underground sprinkler system that had kind of exploded about 10 years ago, and we fixed that. The electrical, we paired up with the city, and they retrenched in wiring to come in for us. But we had a little over $10,000 to rewire the entire concession stand that was inside of that. And so it's a little bit, and maybe this is a give and take of coming to you. I'm the president of the Little League Board, and just coming to you guys to kind of see where we're at. Because I think it's a little bit, for an organization this size, that was a huge fundraising effort, and it's not really a sustainable approach to doing that every single year and kind of looking at what some of the costs are. Currently, almost, I think it was just right around 26% of our registration dollars go to pay our water and electric bill that comes from the city. And so it's a little bit of like, is there some things that we could do as a group to make this a little bit easier so that we don't have to raise registration fees or look at some of that stuff? We want to keep that so every kid in Ely can come and play ball. It's currently at $100. And that gives the kid about a 10-week season. So when you think about that, it's $10 a week to have your kid participate in a sport. They leave with a jersey and they do things. And so it's thinking, how do we as an organization kind of, I don't know if it's partnering with you guys or partnering with the city to look at some of the things that are needed at the field. And as a program, I mean, I think we're starting to, it's like, how much baseball dirt are you going to go through, and what are we going to keep doing, because it's about $2,000 every year. But that dirt, just to be honest, we started with about a 6-inch deficit of where we were at from the erosion of, it hasn't been done for years, and so we're trying to slowly bring that back up, and we rake it back into the field and do all that. But there's 100-some kids that play on it all season and to do some of that stuff. So I don't know what that looks like. If we can, I guess I'm asking what are our options as a organization, and are you guys the right ones to talk about that? I'll be honest, the water and electric bill thing is kind of the only thing we use it for is washing dishes in the concession stand. And we hardly water, to be honest. And I think, if I remember, and don't quote me on this, but talking with Harold, about 10 years ago or so, there was a credit that was given to the program of $600 that was supposed to offset all of our costs for the electric and that. Well, as things keep increasing, we're finding that $600 doesn't meet that offset that we need to operate the program. And so it's a little bit of a fine balance too, because it is a city property, and so it funds there's roughly 100-some families that come down there. We had 135 kids registered last year, and a little over 100 families attending activities and doing stuff. So we want to kind of put our best foot forward and do some of that, but we're getting to the point where dugouts need to be reshingled, taken care of. Some of the decking is falling off of for that press box and going up. And we're willing to fundraise and to do some of that stuff, but is there a way to offset some of these costs?
So when it comes for the water and the electric, I wonder if that would be something that needs to go to the utilities commission?
Yeah, that would be for like, the EUC commission.
Okay.
That would be like they needed the same room on the fourth Wednesday of the month.
Okay,
But yeah, so they would actually be the best resource for that aspect,
okay,
because they have all that knowledge.
okay, so to kind of go with some of that stuff, that would be great. And then, you know, the dirt, if we can do that, and then any of the other, we're really trying to partner with the softball organization and doing some of that. We're looking at purchasing these portable mounds that will go in the baseball field, so if the softball field wants to use it, they're able to pull those mounds off, and we can do some of that stuff. Same with the batting cages up there. The batting cage netting is starting to, that system has, and we shimmed it up with 2x4s, and we have a heck of a volunteer, Jen knows, because her husband and you guys did a ton with it, that are part of this, and it's just like, at some point, we need to kind of get on the same page, or how do we partner up to be, you know, can we replace a batting cage, because everyone in the community is using it. We need to look at fencing around some of that, and the backstops, and is this the place that we come to that? Is that where we're at, you know?
So I know Harold's brought up the, like, baseball field, different things that have needed to be fixed here to Park and Rec before.
Yep.
And has brought it forward to us, so I feel like there are pieces of it that fall onto us. As for, like, money and that kind of piece of it, more of the financial aspect as well. I mean, all of our recommendations, they go to the council looks at the budget and all that kind of
Okay.
stuff too. So we would just want to look to see if it would be something that, if it is Park and Rec who is supposed to take ownership of it, making sure that we're aware of how much our budget is, that's specifically for Park and Rec,
Yep.
before, you know, promising X amount of dollars and finding out that we actually only have Y, you know?
Yep, 100%. And I think that's where, I mean, we look at the things that are going on in the community between that trail system and just the things that are happening tonight, it's pretty impressive. And I don't want it to feel like we're coming like, this is your property, we want you to take care of it and manage it, but like, how do we kind of partner a little bit with that? Because even the softball fields, the city softball fields, it would be amazing if we could get one of those like a little bit tuned up so that we could send kids down there for practices and to do some, you know what I mean, kind of a little bit of a vision of how do we work together so that, you know, because I think that league fields are only used one night a week, is that correct? For
Sounds great to me.
Sometimes a little more.
yes. And I know like the girls softball program would love to have something that would kind of flow into that piece too. And so, you know, it's like, how do we, and is there some shared space that we can do with that, or?
So the younger softball, girls softball coach is Jill now.
Jill, yep.
And we went to meet with Tim Leeson about the school's opportunities and responsibilities, because that property line cuts through in such a weird
I'm
place.
sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's like a nightmare of who owns this half from third base to here, and who goes from the
If
city.
you're gonna get hurt in left field.
Yeah. And so it's like, how do we, and I guess a little bit of that is like, how do we look at this as like an all-encompassing, whether it's softball, whether it's baseball, the city softball fields, like, what do we do to get a bunch of good fields for the kids of our
And
community?
Tim is interested in partnering with everybody who needs help with that shared
Yes.
space there. I don't think he's very interested in the old airport, but.
No, yep, nobody is. And just to look at that, and even some of it too is like, mowing, like we're begging
He
and
committed to mowing
okay,
when we met, and,
Okay.
and to aeration.
okay.
If you, I don't know, does yours need that since you got?
Yeah, and we've been down that path, and summer is an incredibly challenging time.
He explained how that happened, and he doesn't want it to happen again.
Yeah, and so I think it's like a little bit of like, how do we partner with, you know, maybe the city?
who might have more resources than like the school looking at, you know, for that mowing of the fields or to do some of that stuff, and is that something you guys can help? Right now, it's kind of a piecemeal system of like bartered favors of who has a riding lawnmower to come down and do it as parents, and, you know, Bob Champa came and did it all last year for us, and it was incredible. But like, it's always like, oh, who's supposed to weed whack, or who, you know what I mean? And is there a way to tie some of that resources you guys have available to tie into that as a city? I don't know where you guys
The
sit
way
on
our
that.
budget works is, we just have to see what's available now because of the, you know, fluidity of expenses.
Yes, for sure. And is it something, and I guess that's a little bit of where I'm at tonight, is like, how do we get on the radar to say like, can we earmark $500 for mowing, even if it's for the 25 season, or, you know what I mean? Like, what do we need to get onto your radar of making this happen?
In the discussions that we've had so far, I feel like it would be to bring everybody together to talk about how we could organize cooperation to get it done.
Okay.
And I will say conveniently, one of the things that we have as a standing agenda item is our comp plan and updating for Park and Rec specifically, because the city as a whole is kind of going through these different pieces.
Yep.
So I think it's actually perfect timing on your part to be here to discuss this, because it's something that we can look into wanting to, you know, add an update to our comp plan of including that partnership with all of these organizations for the baseball, softball fields. I think that that would definitely be something that we can discuss wanting to have moving forward also.
Okay, that's awesome. I mean, I think I honestly, that's what we're kind of looking for, is like, how do we do this? Because when we start looking at the budget and doing things, we're either gonna have to partner with somebody or look at significantly raising registration, and I don't think that's what we want to do for it. And so I guess that's where we're looking at, who can we help with some of this. So, and last year was a big year. I mean, we went for a scoreboard, we did a whole bunch of things, and hopefully we won't have another year like, well, we can't have another year like that without more significant fundraising, but it is, and it's amazing what it takes for new equipment and you know, back to the ropes and the things like that. All of our helmets have a 2-year expiration date for insurance purposes, and so they have to be replaced, and they can move down, but it's a significant number that takes to run it, so that's where we're at. What do you think, Julie?
So, well, the people in my head who should talk about, you know, like, listening to Tim, he thought he could, like, make a schedule, and then if one of the kids that works for him is sick, he's got to find somebody else because it's on the schedule.
Yes.
And, you know, approach it that way. So if Harold and Tim and you and Jill,
Yes.
who else would need to be in there?
And we're not really the school property, so I don't know if Tim would be.
He talked about, you know, let's pool our resources, and if we're
Okay.
out there with the mower, why don't we do the mowing and then somebody else does something else?
Okay.
Kind of idea.
Yep.
You know, and we didn't go any further than that. So
Yes. Totally. So, okay.
I guess I'm a little lost here, but that's city property. So when they mow Whiteside, why can't they cross the street or snow that? Does it require more frequent mowing?
We'd love that.
Side?
It comes up a lot, like if we could just get you to wheel over.
Yeah, just feel
Yeah.
like it's city
So if you're all talking them, I think that
Yeah.
would be.
And that would be where Harold would come into it. And
Perfect.
at that point would be if, you know, like you're saying about when they're mowing Whiteside, why can't they just pop over and?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Get knocked out. Yeah.
As an example, we were talking the other day about mowing the vacant lot that is south of the skate park. And the city comes and mows around the basketball court and that sort of thing. And Harold volunteered, as long as we're there, we could mow that
We
too,
can
and
mow.
you could use
Yeah,
that.
Harold's been amazing to work with. I mean, like, I just want to make sure, because it's one thing to always call Harold's cell number and be like, hey, can you do this for me? But I also want to kind of run through the proper channels of like, what, you know, what do we need to do, big picture? How do we make this a thing that happens every single year of whether it's the utilities bill, or it's the mowing, or it's the thing? Because lucky for me, in like one more year, all of my kids are out of Little League, so it won't be me who has to keep tracking it down. But I think they have a list that it's kind of written in stone that this is where it's gonna go, and who's responsible for it would be huge for the program.
And can you go back to that utilities thing again? Can you explain that briefly?
Yep, we get a utilities bill every month, and so it's just, even like when we're not using it now, there's and I don't live in town, so I don't quite understand how it all works, but like there's the service charges that go on to everything, and so it's like, and it just adds up. I mean, I think last year we were almost $2,700 in utility costs, when it's like, we have a concession stand.
Who owns the concession stand?
Ely Little League does.
Oh.
Well, and that's like, we'll gladly give it to you. I think we made almost $500 in it last year. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's not like a profitable experience, but it's there so a person can buy a pop.
Oh, my kids get cotton candy.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But it's like that balance of like, we're not doing it.
Gotta raise your rates.
Yeah, well, we talked about that too, so. But
so it's on city property, but the Ely Little League owns the building.
no, we don't own the building at all. Like, we just,
You own the concession stand?
we run the concession stand, so.
So the city owns the concession
Yep,
stand?
you own everything that's down there. And so I think that's a little bit of like, kind of that gray area where it's
Well,
like,
with our other parks and rec facilities, we rent those out when they're needed. So rather than charging you the utilities, we don't charge people the utilities when they rent the pavilion at Seamers. It seems to me the more logical thing to do would be to rent the concession stand to Ely Little League, and we take care of the utilities. Because then we can.
That'd be up to EUC, not us. Like, you know, that's more a question for them, I would imagine. I wouldn't want to.
takes care of the electricity and sewer at all our parks. You know, I mean, there's no reason why this is any different, just because they're using the facility. Shouldn't they be rented the facility?
I don't know enough to say, that's why I personally wouldn't act on that right now.
And
So
my other,
maybe the EUC guy, somebody has to go also, but I bet that it has just, you know, dissolved as people move on, like you say.
and that's what, 100% what's happening.
You know, I mean, like you're always saying, if we get the right people in the room to talk about it and see where we can be more efficient, it'll make sense, and maybe we can even set up something that's repeatable.
If we could rent the facility to other people, then that offsets your costs also. So you want to have a private party where you have kids playing baseball, and you can cook in the concession stand, you know.
And that would be a little tricky, because ours has to be like the Minnesota Department of Health. We have to have the health regulations and do all of that for the cooking. And I don't know, yeah, it's a little dated, so I don't know that we'd want to go. And that's a whole different story of, you know, where we're at. But yes, I mean, you could rent it out and you could do some of that kind of stuff. And to have a flat rental fee might be nice for a budgetary item as an organization to say it's this many dollars to rent this for Ely Little League to have and to do, you know, is a nice thing instead of kind of where are we at? And then it does clear up a little bit of that discussion of like, well, this isn't really our facility, but we rewired the whole, and that had to be done by a licensed electrician, and we paid full market rate. You know what I mean?
You guys paid for that.
Yeah, we paid for that. That was $10,000 out of our, and so it's like, it's kind of, and it was, to be honest, it was the only way we could get it done, because it was something that we'd been working on for several years to get done. And so, and this is by no means, I don't want to be bashful, but it's just not a sustainable process of what we're doing right now. Like, we don't have enough. At one point, there was probably 200 or 300 kids that were in the Ely Little League baseball program, and you could live that way, but we don't have the numbers to buy equipment. All of our coaching, all of the is volunteer. You know, we're not paying anyone to do anything, and we're kind of scraping by to get through. So it's like, where do we, if we have another catastrophic electrical failure, we couldn't take Yes, and to be honest, like, we all had this discussion at the board meeting last month of like,
It'd be like me paying to rewire these lights here.
yep, and it,
I don't own this building, but because I use it, you're expecting me to put the bill for this.
But it's, I feel like, from what I'm understanding about with the concession stand, with the Little League field, with the softball field, it's a gray area. Like, I mean,
Yes.
like you were just saying, that it's, depending on where you are in the field, depends on who owns what.
Not
So
for-
I,
not,
for softball.
oh, for softball, sorry.
Yeah.
But there's still kind of, like you've been saying, there's this gray area. So I think that by having this conversation, by getting everybody in the same room, having that conversation with Harold, with you guys, with Tim Leeson or
Well,
whoever
this would be the room.
needs to
Yeah.
be. Well,
Yeah.
but having those people all there to say, you know, can we do it on like a rental basis of where there's a flat fee? Or are we going to continue as we have been?
yep,
So I think, I mean, there definitely needs to be further conversation on it. I do agree that if it is something that, like, if it is city-owned, then absolutely, city should be helping with this kind of stuff. but-
yeah, and that was the balance last year, like, they trenched around and put in some big wire to do it, and which was probably another $10,000, you know what I mean? So we for sure couldn't have done that, but like at the same time, like, that's a big number for us to do, and to do some of the other stuff that needs to be kind of picked up and moved on with, so, I don't know how do we organize that meeting, or who do we get at the table to do it? And I guess that's my thing, is like, how do we make this a little bit more of a formal process than board members calling Harold or you know what I mean, that it's kind of a black and white, this is where you guys are, this is your responsibility, this is the city's responsibility, and we do that, and it's kind of written down so the next people that come along, we pass, and this is how it operates, and so it's an easier thing to deal with.
This is actually reminding me about, like, with the garden club. Quite honestly, I know that it's a little bit different because you guys have a building, but on a yearly basis, Catherine with the garden club comes in, she gives us a rundown of what's happening, any updates, how the last year went, looking forward. So I'm wondering if, I don't know, that's just what's coming to my mind right now about that. Maybe that's something that we can kind of, I mean, we can't use that as the example, because like I said, they don't have a physical building that they're tending to that resides on city property. Yeah.
Maybe just on like the short term, maybe next month we just invite, Harold, other organizations, and then maybe somebody from EUC out to Whiteside with us for our next meeting. And then we can kind of just have like a chat in a more timely manner, so that way it's not,
I'd say just make the recommendation, the motion that the city consider changing the agreement on the use of the Little League concession stand to, just for predictability and purposes, that we establish a rental rate that's adequate to cover the cost.
I personally wouldn't feel comfortable making that motion until I had more information.
What kind of information?
Pretty much a lot of information that Harold would have about how it currently works, how the current operation looks like, and just kind of seeing what options there are. So I would,
And the parallel with that a little bit too is like, we as an organization would want to make sure that the rental agreement is something that we can afford and that we can go forward with too. And that if we get into a rental agreement there, as a landlord, what are you thinking you guys are gonna fix, or what are you know what I mean, comparatively to like, if we get into a rental agreement, but we still have to shingle the roofs, and we still have to do, so where, you know what I mean, like where does some of that fall into? And by no means are we asking for you to shingle the roof, I mean, but it's like, maybe if you buy materials, we have a bunch of adults that would shingle that, you know what I mean, or we would do some of this kind of stuff. And even down to our general liability insurance, we're on city property, we're part of this, but we pay for general liability, which is a significant amount every single year to do it. So by the time we get done with all of our expenses, it eats up so much.
So I'm understanding it as an action item, is what I'm saying. So is there a motion required to pursue this further? And it occurs to me that the answer would be yes, that whether it's approach, motion to pursue the, a meeting, to conduct a meeting.
I mean,
But-
but why couldn't we just table that to the next meeting? It'd be the same thing, I just don't think there's a motion needed right
When
now.
does Little League
Well,
start?
it'll be awful close to
Ye-
start.
Yeah, we're gonna start May 2nd or whatever. And so we don't, and I will be 100%, I'm coming to you because in the next year or two here, I'm gonna age out of this program and I wanna make sure that there's kind of an understanding and we get back on the radar of the city of what's going on down at Little League. And so, do we need anything right this moment? No. But at the same time,
You need dirt.
yeah, we
Yeah,
need dirt.
I was gonna say, you need dirt. Thank you.
Yeah, we need dirt, and to be honest, we'd like to run the sprinkler system without the fear of racking up a huge bill. Because a green
Okay, now it
baseball,
works.
yeah, because now it works. We put about $5,000 into making it work, but we're scared to turn it on because of the price of, water, which seems
Well, I
crazy.
think where you were going is a good place, because now I'm gonna add Corey back to the group, because you all have needs, you're all doing things about the place to play that
Yep.
the others don't know about.
Yes.
You're willing to share your mound.
We'll share whatever, and it's just like, even down at the city fields, I know that because we all, especially, and we're lucky this year that it's a dry spring, but 90% of the time it's too wet to go down to the city fields, and so we're all sharing each other's space and coordinating, there's 9 teams that run through the Little League program, there's the high school, the junior high, the softball, and then the elementary softball program, and we really only have those 2 fields. So how do we, you know what I mean, just to kind of get on the radar, there's a lot of kids that participate in this sport, let's, have it be something we utilize, so.
Yeah. So, as of right now, first things first, we need a motion for dirt. A motion to recommend to council to help with the purchase of dirt for the baseball fields.
And we've done this. How many years in a row now?
Last year was the first year.
Last year.
Yep, last year was the first year. And I know that there's a little bit of talk, and like I said, we're willing to share with the softball program,
Yeah. and
but
we did
they
this-
need a ton of dirt too.
Yeah, we had this whole conversation last year. Was there any increase in the price?
No, it's pretty
Okay.
much. It'll be trucking fuel or whatever. And we're willing to, you know what I mean? And the last year it was like, you guys will pay for 1 truckload of dirt, and then Harold and I worked out what that actually.
Same agreement. I even think it's worked into the budget.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have a motion for dirt?
Do we need one of those?
Yeah, I have to take it to council for approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
I'll move for dirt.
for $21.95. I would second that.
Okay. So motion Julie, second Todd. Any further discussion or questions on dirt? I'm trying to be really specific about her because I don't want to
Yep, no, and it's good.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Hearing none, this will go forward to council for approval.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Recommendation. And then absolutely, moving forward, we definitely want to make sure that we're having this conversation. Like I mentioned, it's something that I think would be wonderful to go into our comp plan and in our discussions about the comp plan moving forward, to make sure that we're working together with Little League, with baseball, with softball, with everybody,
Yep,
to make sure that it's fair, equal, as well as affordable.
yep. And I think that's really important too, because I think when we looked at, it's just funny, you can see the transitional years of volunteers that come through this, like we're calling people like, where do you think you buried that line in the 80s? Because nobody quite knows where that electrical goes. And so it's a good thing, and if we can get a little bit on the radar, it would be huge for us. So we appreciate that, and we want to make it happen, so.
Wonderful. So I guess before we let you go too far, do you would you like to come back in May when we're meeting over in Whiteside to have a little bit of a further discussion? We can see if, myself, I would want to see if Harold would be available to come through that as well.
Yep.
Just so that way we can get his input, because he's kind of the all-knowing power.
It is, and Harold's a
This kind of
huge
stuff.
resource. He's one of the
Exactly.
guys who knows where those lines are buried.
I
so-
say it all the time whenever I sit in this seat particularly, because this is Harold's spot, I say I don't want this power.
Yeah, and it is, and it's just, to get that onto the radar, and we'd happily show you, some of our facilities and what we'd like to do to improve some of that. We flood out every year. Harold and I talked about, it's just because of the pitch of the road, and they're gonna redo that road, so we're gonna get a little better pitch and do, so we are on that radar, but just to make it happen, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful, yeah. If you're available, May 20th, 5 o'clock, we'll be over in Whiteside. I think that it would be, if we're gonna be over there, I think it'd be really nice to just even be able to walk across the street and see some of that stuff.
I will guarantee we'll be going on, because games start then, and they start, the first practice is May 2nd, and after 2 weeks, they start games, so.
Okay.
The field will be in full swing, so you guys can come and check it out and do some of that stuff, so.
Wonderful.
We love it, so.
Popcorn and cotton candy.
Popcorn, cotton candy, we got a new PA system, it's great, so. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Ryan.
Yes, thank you.
Alrighty. Next up, Adam, I'll let you kind of take lead on this one.
Sure. Well, honestly, I was hoping Abby was going to be here, because she was the one that was working with Ian in regards to the mural, and I believe you as well. In fact, I think Julie is probably more qualified than you.
Okay.
Where is this mural going to be?
Okay, did we not discuss a mural with ECR at Senior Street?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's down there, okay.
In conjunction with Ian, was it the NLAA that's doing, okay, and they're doing multiple buildings, correct? Okay.
Multiple murals, and many of them are in the school. And it was actually Harold's idea to put one down at Senior.
Okay.
That being the background, so we recently received communication from a muralist, if that's indeed what they're called, offering up her services as a professional muralist for things such as basketball courts and project backboard. She writes the grants, she acquires the funding, etc. You'll see in your agenda packet some examples of her work or similar artists that appears. And these are just examples of what she had expressed interest in providing Ely. Now, I do also recall that last month we opened up the basketball court for repainting lines for both basketball and pickleball. And I'm not sure if this mural idea for the courts is a great fit. And I do see there are existing lines, but there it is. Which direction do we want to take it? We've got the murals going on. We have painting the courts going on. So it's,
Well, I guess my only, if we're already working with ECR and NLAA, and now we have a fourth party coming in and saying, hey, hire me to do a mural. I feel like there's a little bit of crossover for that, because I don't want for us to be working with NLAA for the art piece of it, for the murals, for Seamers and for at the school or these other ones, there's something that's just not sitting right with me to be like, oh, well, we're also going to go with this now fourth other person for another mural that we want to do, if we already have that existing relationship.
I thought that my thoughts on this would be merging the project so that she essentially works with ECR and NLAA, and they say, this is what.
Were there any local artists who were interested in doing something like this?
I've only received communication.
Okay, I just know that there were some names thrown around last fall when we talked about this, and so that was just me, yeah. I was just curious.
Do we have a list of those names?
I know Jane, Dan,
Dan,
yeah, I know, yeah, well, yeah. Married now, so it's all confusing.
I think you're probably, again, the most qualified and insightful to take the lead and show us where to go with this.
Well, I know that they just finished one that I believe is gonna go up in the school. And the school admin is really interested in creating some art that is right on the walls. You know, like there's those mosaics upstairs in the memorial building that students made several years ago. They're beautiful. And they just finished one with Kelly Chick's class, and I don't know where that one is going to go. So, like the history of murals, there's been an idea to paint one on the stadium that, you know, that our own students would create. That would be good. And then the Otts have talked to Jane about doing one in the pocket park right down here. Have you heard about that one?
Yes, something about the, yeah. photo.
Yeah, yeah. That'll be a really nice one if we get to have that one. So, do you know how this person came to email you about that idea? Was it a connection through NLAA? Because I know Ian is connected with lots of artists.
I'm a Twin Cities-based professional muralist, writing in hopes of connecting with you for future projects in Ely. I am currently spending a lot of time in Ely working on several murals within a newly constructed large residential home. I'm genuinely,
In you?
so she says, I'm genuinely enjoying it. I recently learned of plans for a mural depicting beaver planes on the wall of an old theater as part of the new pocket park development. I'm not sure how far along the plans are, but I would like to be considered for designing and painting the mural. Is this a possibility?
Oh, interesting.
I'm also writing to pitch the idea of the project. Back with 20 plus years of mural experience and all kinds of services, I'd love to discuss the core idea further.
But we're not, is Park and Rec doing the murals? Or overseeing the,
I bet she got that idea because of the pocket park.
right. And I know, like, for Seamers, it would make sense for that to come to us. For the basketball courts, that makes sense to, if it's gonna be, like, we were saying about if they wanted to look into it for the rec center kind of a thing. Again, for me, there's just something about, if it's already in the works, ECR is working with NLAA, we're already working with NLAA to do the mural at Seamers. Maybe what needs to happen is that Kata needs to get connected with NLAA and offer her services to them.
Yeah, talking to NLAA might kind of clear up where did she come
Right.
from.
Okay.
Right.
This is
That
so
sounds
funny
good.
because
Yeah.
we got approached by another mural and art outfit in the cities that is based on.
Everybody's going Banksy.
So anyway, that was all kind of welcoming Latinx culture. And if that is somebody who spends a lot of time in Ely also.
Oh my goodness. So, from my understanding with this is that it was more of it just also maybe just put it on our radar, if we want to have a discussion, if it was like that we wanted to make a motion or anything like that with it, of, do we want to pursue the project backboard, like Adam was saying, for the basketball courts, and like the pickleball courts, over at the rec center. Would that be something that we want to look into? Would that be something that we don't necessarily need to make a motion on it? Again, maybe this is something that we add to the comp plan.
Do we want that at the rec center?
No.
Me neither.
I don't think you want anything on the ground.
No, it's distracting if you're a ball player.
And I don't think that.
I think the weather was just eroding
our
down.
art funds.
I
Like,
don't
Right.
know what they do.
get NLAA on board so that we have a unified aesthetic. We don't have pictures of beaver planes and then this. I mean, it just doesn't, there's no cohesion at all, and that's not our job. I
So,
would
advise, Ms.
Kata Goalen.
What's the one?
Goalen.
Yeah.
Advise Kata Goalen to contact NLAA in regards to the bureau budget.
Yeah. I think that would be a good start, and, do you, since she sent you the email, do you want to handle that, or would you like, I'm more than happy to.
Oh,
send
yeah,
that
you want to
email.
do that?
Yeah.
Because I've got one, this is a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, I could
Perfect, thank you.
definitely reach out to her,
Perfect.
and just let her know, and I'll even just copy, the NLAA email in there, so that way then she knows who to reach out to. I might need to grab the ECR email if ECR and NLAA are combining, so I can just loop you guys in on that too,
Okay.
at some point.
You can just use mine and I'll
Okay.
watch everybody else.
Okay, perfect. All right. So last but certainly not least, our standing agenda item about our comp plan. Any further discussion, if anybody was able to go through and make any recommendations, even from this meeting alone, it definitely sounds like there are opportunities to collaborate with some of these existing other organizations that we work with, Little League, Garden Club, just to make sure that we're kind of being equal across the board with that kind of stuff. Somebody?
Yeah, I've got a couple of recommendations.
Yeah.
First, on parks and recreational facilities, we don't have the rec center listed.
Oh. Yeah, we would definitely want to get the rec center added on there.
So we need to add rec center, or create a list so that it's not too exhaustive, you know, with common usage. I would like to point out that in the Ely vision statement that the last phrase in that statement, historically rich and naturally pure, sounds like a great coffee too. Ely will gain strength as a regional leader and an anchor to Minnesota Northwoods tourism where residents can play where they work. So, play where they work is in quotation marks there. I think that's important that we don't lose sight of the importance of the Park and Recreation Board in maintaining our parks. And as we go to parks and recreational facilities, goals and objectives, with that in mind, under goal it says provide a wide range of recreational opportunities, which seems very short to me. I think it should say something along the lines of provide, maintain, and promote a wide range of recreational opportunities. That would be my recommendation.
I like all of the above, especially with adding the maintaining, promoting, because, yeah, it's more than just providing.
Exactly.
Yes, we definitely need to get the rec center on there. I wonder if it would be possible to have a list of all of the, include a list of all of the different,
Within the
Facilities.
city itself, it says, Ely offers many recreational amenities, including, and there's some punctuation there.
Seamers.
That should be a colon, correct? Seamers Beach Park, and that should be a semicolon. Boat landings on Shagwa and Miners Lake, semicolon.
Nope, comma, because it's a list.
But the list has, I will consult my G.B. White guidance, usage of it. Walking, and this is where you can use your commas. Bike, that should be biking, correct? Cross-country ski, walking, biking, cross-country ski, and ATV and snowmobile trails, so they're listing trails. Then you have your semicolon. Okay, other amenities are located there, which by including a golf course. Yeah. So there's no mention of the rec center there.
Yeah, so we mentioned baseball fields or softball fields.
Yeah.
Baseball, softball, volleyball, I mean,
I don't know.
how, yeah, like how do we just want to say an array of recreational
And that's what it
opportunities?
says, offers many recreational services. An exhaustive list of.
Maybe, yeah, maybe just putting that including but not limited to
Right.
in there.
Ely offers many recreational amenities, including,
But not limited to, or we can even just, like Jen said, we can just simplify it even more of just, yeah.
and what's the tense of this? If this is forward-looking for future, because according, this should be guide the future, identify and guide the future development. The tense should be amenity, instead of within the city itself, Ely offers many recreational amenities, including, should that be within the city itself, Ely offers many recreational amenities that include? I mean, how grammatically correct do you want to be here? Am I splitting hairs?
Maybe just a little bit, but I think that the other part of it is that with that section, to me, that's more of a statement, so it would be more of like present tense.
It's present
Versus-
progressive.
Yeah, versus like when you're looking at like planning process,
Mhm.
where it lists out different plans or things that could be happening in the future, those ones would be future tense. But I'm also,
I'd say, okay, I've made my recommendations on a few of the words to add, and keeping what we've just discussed in mind, maybe come back to the table, oh, there's more on the second page, which I can bring back next time. I think we need to have a little bit more thorough look at that. It's not very long, it's only a few paragraphs.
yeah,
And it sounds as if it just needs to be read in a little bit further and bring something page for it.
absolutely. Look, and I mean, the other part of this too is that if we decide, we like where it's a good start, but we want to redo it, we can also do that too. And completely rephrase it. Take just the some pieces out of it and.
It's no longer a living document, we will kill it.
Right.
Create it online.
So, rebuild it, yes. Just as long as it's not AI that's rebuilding it, as long as it's the people.
Our AI generated.
Yeah.
Output.
That might be kind of interesting.
That would be
Right?
interesting.
I've heard from a lot of people that AI just takes the heart out of it. That's how a lot of teachers tell. But any further discussion or anything that we want to cover? Any last minute agenda pieces, or do I have a motion to adjourn?
You've got one.
And a second?
I'll second.
And Jen seconds? All right, we are done. Unless anybody objects to us adjourning.
Aye.